Introduce our first speaker, Trish sharing Just for the Day.
I'm an addict called Trish. First, I want to thank the convention committee and all of you for having me here. I'm so grateful and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude and joy that I'm clean today, and I'm so excited. Wow. Ephraim messaged me at 5:30 a.m. yesterday and said, by the way, I scheduled you to speak tomorrow on Just for Today at 12 p.m. And I was like, wow, thank God he didn't tell me like weeks before, because I have been in my head for the past 24 hours, like, what am I going to say? You know, like up until the moment I got here, you know. And I read the Just for Today this morning and started crying. The greatest gift, right? The greatest gift. I drove here with my best friend, and like, it's like hard for me to even pick today, like, who is my best friend, because I have so many friends today in my life. So the Cape Atlantic Area Convention was my first convention in, I guess, 2018 is when I got clean. I'm from Gloucester County, Camden County area. I grew up in Washington Township, and I ran in Camden and Philly, and I could not get clean there. I went to meetings there. I've been in and out of Narcotics Anonymous since 2000 and maybe 03, 09, I don't know. I fried a lot of brain cells, right? So, you know, I just couldn't get it, right? So sorry if my story is a little bit like back and forth, but yeah, so that's the area I'm from. I've been in and out of NA for some time. I would collect key tags, white key tags, orange key tags, smoke weed, drink. Alcohol was not a drug. I would get that sponsor, tell her what I wanted to tell her, do a couple steps, get the home group, and I couldn't fully surrender, right? And I would always continue to get high. So when I was thinking about, like, oh my God, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? My sponsee sister, Stella, thank you, Stella, said, read the chapter, reread the chapter, right? So our literature is so basic, and I'll tell you a little story. So a few years into the program, I was working at this facility, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the other program. And this lady worked with me. She had like 30 years in the other program, and she was a really nice lady. And you know, we would bond all the time at work. And we would go to the beach together in Ocean City. And she said, you know, read this book, read the other book. So I would take it home, and she said, dissect every paragraph with the dictionary. And I couldn't understand the literature. So I would go to her house, and I would bring my NA book. And I was like, but read this. And so we couldn't get through like one paragraph. And I would always bring my NA book. So after like the third time, she goes, honey, you're an NA. Go back to NA. We couldn't get through like the first step. So our literature is so basic. So when I pulled out the Just for Today, Living the Program, I was like, oh my God, I've read this so many times. I have all these highlights. It's orange highlighted, yellow. I've read this so many times. I was reading it last night. Thank you, Stella. And it says the Just for Today, the thing we read in every meeting. It's usually the pink reading. My thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. All that. I read it last night. I'm like, oh, I do all these things. It's all highlighted. I've read this like a million times. Because when you get some years clean, So I woke up this morning. I was in bed with my husband and my dog, and I went, oh my God, babe. He's like, what? And I said, oh, it's all about the Just for Today, like living, enjoying life. It's that simple. And he goes, are you serious? I was like, that's all I need to talk about. Like, it's that simple. And he's like, duh. I was like, I already do that stuff, through NA, try to get a better perspective of my life. Like, that's all I have to say, how I do that all the time. And he's like, I know, Trish. It was like 6:30 a.m. But yeah, our literature it's that simple. I remember coming in here, and it was like going to school, right? And like this was the textbook, and like the step working guide was my homework, and that's how basic I needed it to be, because I was so broken, and I was so strung out, and I thought I looked cute on the outside. I had half blonde hair, and like the tips were dyed purple, and my face was all pierced up, and like I thought I looked cute on the outside, but like it was an empty shell of a person on the inside. And when I got here, I hadn't spoken to my family or my 2 children in 6 years. No one knew where I was, what I had been through, and I went to jail in Camden for 60 days. The judge said, Judge Blue said, drug court or prison. They released me on bail conditions, and I got high. I died again. I had overdosed 5 times, so that was it. So I remember being released on bail conditions, and I got high, overdosed, and I went to Cooper Hospital, where my mom had been working for 35 years. So she's a lab tech. She would see my name come in, when they, you go in there. And I remember getting walked to when they gave me the drug court, and the guy, the officer that walks you to the court hearing, he was a guard at Cooper, and I was like, oh my God, don't tell my mom I'm here. And he had this profound conversation with me, because I was like, oh, I've never been to jail before, this isn't fair, why am I getting the drug court? I should just get the 190, 180, or whatever it is, or those numbers, because I didn't really know what they were. This, I shouldn't get this, I should just be able to do my time and leave. And he said, Trisha, you got away with all of this stuff your whole life. How long you been getting high? I'm like, since I was 12, and at this point I was 37 years old. And he said, just take the drug court, it might help you. And something clicked. I was like, all right, how bad could it be? And I'll never forget that conversation, and I took it. I did leave and get high and overdosed again, but I remember after I took that, they said, do you want a bed in Maryville? I said yes. I knew the drug court was going to catch up with me, so I took the bed in Maryville. But I remember that conversation that guard, that guy had with me, and I went to Maryville, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do the drug court now, And when I went to, the treatment facility, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this time. I'm going to take the suggestions that were offered to me a long time ago, and I'm going to do the treatment facility, and the the 30 days, the halfway house, I'm going to go to NA, and the seed had been planted a long time ago. Like, the first time I had ever went to Narcotics Anonymous, the first treatment facility I ever went to, H&I came in, and the seed was planted a long time ago, and I knew there was a better way to live through H&I. So when I was thinking about earlier what I was going to say, I was like, I lived so many just for todays when I was using. You know, like, just for today, I'm going to go get my drugs and I'm going to get high. It was so easy then. Like, why is it so hard when I'm living clean, right? Because I was thinking about it. Like, you go to treatment, right? And they're like, what are your goals? What is your short-term goal, your midterm goal, your long-term goal? And you're like, oh my God, I gotta fix my life. And like, and now I'm clean, right? And I'm living. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta buy a house, and I gotta in 5 years, and I gotta do my masters, and I gotta save money. And I'm like, but the only relief that I get in just for today is when I sit in a Narcotics Anonymous program, and for that hour, all my anxieties and my reliefs go away. Or like when I got in the car to come here with my best friend, somehow, I don't know how, she goes, oh my God, like my anxiety went away because I started talking to her. She goes, I'm so nervous for you. I was like, really? I'm not nervous anymore. She goes, you transferred all your anxiety on me. I said, I did? Like, I had no anxiety anymore coming here. I don't know why. She goes, I'm really nervous for you. I don't know why, but it went away. Like, because in NA, right, we learn these things, like when it's in here, like we learn to network with other people. We learn this thing in the second step, like that thing, the insanity thing, like when we call someone and, you know, and we, what is it? And we talk to someone and they take away our insanity. That, like, that's that thing, that, like, support thing in the insanity. We learn this new way to live, right? So when I sit in an NA meeting in my home group at the end of the week on a Friday night, what a way to end my week, right? All my anxieties and my shit goes away from the end of the week. But when I'm at work, oh my God, it's like I have to say that, like, serenity prayer. Like, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes I have to call my sponsor or a sponsee or my friend to, like, relieve the anxieties and the emotions that are going on in my everyday life. There's a part in this chapter, right? And I was reading it. And I have it highlighted. I didn't have it highlighted today. I had it highlighted, and it says, worrying is a lack of faith. Dude, I've been a worrywart my entire life. My mom was like, you are the biggest worrier. The only time I get any relief from that I ever have my whole life is coming to NA. Because I've learned that it's a lack of faith. Thank you, Jose, my sponsor's brother. Oh my God. He did such an amazing job last night. Oh my God. And then I listened to this other thing that he talked about, like spiritual experiences. I've had so many amazing spiritual experiences coming into Narcotics Anonymous. So let me give you another little background. Remember I said about, how much time do I have? Are you timing me?
No.
Because, can you believe that I was nervous? Wow, once I get going, it's like insane.
10 minutes.
That's it, damn. Okay, so remember I said I didn't talk to my kids for 6 years? All right, so because I came to Narcotics Anonymous and built a relationship with you guys and a network of women, I started getting these relationships back in my life. Okay, cool, just keep me posted. So people started to come back into my life, right? So let me read you something in here. It says, some of us have profound spiritual experiences, dramatic and inspirational in nature. For others, awakening is more subtle. We recover in an atmosphere of acceptance and respect for one another's beliefs, and we try to avoid the self-deception of ignorance and self-righteousness. As we develop faith in our daily lives, we find that our higher power supplies us with the strength and guidance that we need. The only way I was able to live clean and go on with the damage that I'd done to my family by not speaking to them and overdosing over 5 times and leaving my children for 6 years to their grandmothers, and not speaking to them and running. Like, I come from a good family, right? I was planned. You know, my father owned a pharmacy in South Philly. You know, I was an only child. I said I grew up in Washington Township. The only way that I was able to move on and live with what I had done to them was to live with acceptance and move on and fix my life, right? So I developed a relationship with you guys and built a network in here and got involved in sponsorship. I accepted what I'd done and I moved on, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna put my big girl panties on, and I'm gonna help other women. I learned something from listening in here, right? Someone said, it's simple. This is a simple program for complicated people. I will overthink everything, right? But I listen. Someone said, don't use one day at a time and help somebody. I was like, okay, I think maybe I could do that, right? So I started to help people. I used my experience, what I did, and I started helping other women. And people started to come back into my life. I remember crying in a meeting. I was like, I'm done drug court, I'm off papers, and I might as well fucking use, okay? Sorry, I curse, but, and I remember someone celebrating in front of the room, and he's like, if you have kids, don't use. I just walked my daughter down the aisle, you know what I mean? And, it's possible. A couple days later, my older daughter's grandmother texted me and her father and said, it's time for you to get back into your daughter's life. I was over 2 years clean at this point. It took that long for me to get back into my daughter's life, okay? And then on my 40th birthday, remember, I got clean at 37. My father texted me and said, happy birthday. And at this point, my mother was not back into my life. It took me until I was 4 years clean to get back into my mother's life. I got married in this process. I mailed my mother a wedding invitation. I was 4 years clean, and then she texted me and said, come over with your husband-to-be, and, I've been inseparable from my mother since, only because I lived a whole bunch of just for today's, you know what I mean, and did what we did in here. I still have a daughter. She just turned 17 on February 6th. I haven't seen her since she was 4 years old, but that's okay, because I stay in position and do what we do. I miss her, but she's coming, you know what I mean? I have developed a relationship with a higher power. I remember going to the beach one day and praying and having this spiritual experience, and this was before my other daughter wasn't in my life, and God was he didn't come down on the cross and speak to me or nothing, but I knew I wasn't ready, right? Kids are they're emotional, they're expensive, and I know that in the right time, when I'm ready and she's ready, that God will put my kids in my life when it's time for me and them. And I only know this and have these experiences, these spiritual awakenings, when the time is right. It's amazing what God does, for me and you on any given day. Just for today is really hard for me sometimes. I will worry myself into it's I'll worry for example, I just, on April 8th, I will be done clinical hours for my master's. Okay, and I don't like to even like say that, because I'm like, I tell my sponsor, I'm like, I feel like I'm bragging. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't want people to like think I'm like bragging about that. But like, I never thought that I would even be able to, I couldn't read the 12 traditions. I wouldn't sit next to that paper. I can't say the word regularly. I said it last time, like, how do people say regularly? I can say anonymity, but I can't say regularly. Like, how did I write papers for a master's program? Like, it's insane to me. And then, but I'll think, like, I got all in my head yesterday because my boss, she had told me that, like, she was going to create this position for me. But yesterday she was like, well, our company, that position, like, it's not a thing. And I'm like, she doesn't think I could do it. Like, I'll get all in my head and say, like, I'm not good enough. Isn't that crazy? That's wild. That is wild shit. Like, we will, like, put ourselves, I'll back myself up into a corner on any given day. But that's where the restoration of sanity, the step 2, that's what I was trying to think of. I got to call somebody. That's what NA teaches me. Just for today, I need to call somebody and get out of my head. My old sponsor used to say, don't go up there alone without any adult supervision. Do not go up there alone. Right? Because I will make myself think that I am not good enough, that, I am stupid. Now, mind you, I have more credentials and more degrees than my boss. It's wild, it's nuts, but like, this program has saved my life. It's the greatest gift. It is. I never thought I would make it this far. I don't know what it was about that. I don't know what clicked. I do know. I'm not going to play that card. I do know that one day that I overdosed on Atlantic Avenue in Camden, I had that spiritual awakening, and I said, I don't want my legacy, or I don't want my kids to tell that story of me, that my mom died and she chose drugs over me. I don't want that to be my story. I don't want that to be them to read that of me at my funeral. I remember writing a eulogy at Maryville, and it was me being like dying at the age of 90 something, and I wrote this beautiful thing about how I helped people, how I did get that degree, and I went on to be this great person and help people. Just for today. Right? So I hope that I hope that I
It'll go off.
Oh. I feel like I was like, damn, I hope I brought it out. But so today I, because of Narcotics Anonymous and living the program one day at a time, I sponsor women today. I have a sponsor. I call her. This year I did an 8th step, and it was the most wonderful experience. Again, shout out to the programming committee. What a great theme. How free do you want to be? I want to be free. My best friend Rachel said to me when I was doing this 8th step this year, I was struggling with telling my husband something, and I looked at Rachel on the beach and she said, how free do you want to be? I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh damn. I want to be free. I want to be free. I want to be as free as I can be. I don't want to have any secrets. I don't have any secrets today. I don't want to hurt anybody either. You know, when I lay my head down on the pillow, I do a 10-step inventory. It doesn't, this guy, Mickey, he says at our home group when he speaks, I'm sure he says it all the time, nowhere in this basic text does it say, I'm not on that step. When you walk into an NA meeting, you start working the steps and living the steps all the time. It's called a step working guide. It's not called a step writing guide, right, John? So we start working and living these steps all the time. You know? So you can lay your head down on the pillow at night and say, did I hurt anybody today? Do I owe anybody an apology? Just because I didn't write on that step and go over it with a sponsor, I can still lay my head down and say, do I owe anybody an apology? Did I hurt anybody today? And I don't do that. I live clean. You know, I don't hurt anybody's feelings today. I have a conscious contact with a higher power. I carry the message every day. Outside of NA. Inside of NA, outside of NA, I help people in through my family. I help people. I have keys to my parents' house. I go help my mom. I'm there for her. It took a long time. She was mad at me. You know, like she had a knee surgery. I went and stayed with her. Talk about surrender on a whole different level. But I'm grateful. And then my mother-in-law just had a shoulder surgery. We went and stayed with her and helped her only because of NA. Like, people didn't want me around. I can't believe that I even used to live like that. Like, people come into my job and they're like, you use drugs? And I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea. But when I think about that person, I'm like, wow, I used to live like that? Only because of a whole lot of just for today's. How much time do I have? I thought I would take it all up.
You got 7 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Take it all up. 7 minutes.
Okay. I can take it all up. What else? So let me read some. It says, everything we know is subject to revision, especially what we know about the truth. We reevaluate our old ideas so we can become acquainted with the new ideas that lead to a new way of life. We recognize the new ideas that lead to a new way of life. Oh, I read that. Yep. We recognize that we are human with physical, mental, and spiritual sickness. When we accept that our addiction caused our own hell and that there is a power available to help us, we begin to make progress in solving our problems. So even in recovery, I had some issues with lying and not living clean. So I came around here not brimming, I was open and I was willing, but it took me a long time to get honest. So maybe I can help the newcomer with this. I used in my sober living house, and it took me a while to get honest about my clean date. In my sober living, and when I was on drug court, I was using something and passing a drug test. And my disease told me that I was clean because I was passing the drug test. And I lied about my clean date for 3 years. And I was celebrating clean time. And when I got to the 4th step, it was COVID. And the world was shut down and we were online, and I pulled the book out. I was going to use over it, and I pulled the book out instead. And I read through the fifth step it was, and what it said to me is if you missed anything on the fourth step, like if you didn't get honest about it, you're getting high. And I was like, oh shit, I'm going to get high. So I was meeting up with my sponsor, who is my sponsor now, and she was showing me how to use Zoom because my home group couldn't hear me or something. And I got honest. And I said, this isn't my real clean date. She said, okay, tell your sponsor. And I changed my clean date. But that little lie that I was holding on to for 3 years almost got me high. Nobody knew, but I knew. One other person in the program knew, and I was like, oh my God. Every time I saw him, I was like, he's going to tell. He's going to tell. Oh my God, he's going to tell. And I was like 8 months shy of my real clean date, and I waited and I celebrated and I told everybody, and it was like not really that big of a deal, but it was to me. Like I almost got high over that little white lie that I was holding on to. So I hope that like I can help somebody, because that is like a huge deal. You know what I mean? It is like I really was embarrassed and ashamed over that. So that, and another thing, I had an older gentleman in my life. We'll just call him an old man that was giving me money in my addiction, and then followed me all the way into when I got married. My husband knew about it, and I was 4 years clean. But because I work steps and I have a sponsor, I stopped. So I went to up to Vineland, I think it was, and this is what NA does to you, right? It gets into your spirit, right? And you start like living this stuff. So I go to like Vineland, and I go to a speaker jam, and I share on relationships, and I share all this Gucci shit about how I'm living the program, and I have like my older daughter back into my life, and I'm like married, and my husband just gave me all this money to pay the bills. I didn't share that, but he did, right? So I'm about to leave the speaker jam and go visit the old man, and I like get the feeling in my stomach, it starts turning, and I'm like, fucking NA, right? And I turn around and I go home and I text the old man and I said, I'm not coming. And I'm like, it's NA, I can't do it. I'd like to say that that's not the last time I visited him. I visited him one more time. It was a Christmas about 3 years ago, and I took like $1,000 off him, and I said, I can't come here anymore. Like the lying, it was the lying. Like my husband would say, how much money did you get off him? And I'd say like a couple hundred, but it was really 1,000. And, I couldn't do it anymore. It was going to ruin my marriage. And I was going to end up getting high. It was the behaviors that were taking me back into, and it was in Williamstown, where I'm from, and it was taking me up 42, where I would see the signs that said Camden, and I could see the behaviors. Everything that it teaches us in here, the old behaviors, right? So I stopped. It's been 3 years since I participated in an old behavior. See, I see what NA teaches us, right? And I don't do that anymore just for today. This is what Narcotics Anonymous teaches us. And, it's just what it teaches us in here not to do. Participate in old behaviors. Like what this first page says in here, just for today, living the program, living and enjoying life, and doing like what it teaches, a new perspective of my life. I don't do these things anymore. I can't. It like gets into my spirit, and it gets into my veins. I can't do that anymore. I can't lie. I can't steal, and I can't cheat. And then when the man would give me the money, I would pay off a credit card, and then like my daughter would just spend the money on the credit card anyway. So Anyway, I hope you got something out of what I shared. I love NA. It has definitely like given me so many gifts that beyond my wildest dreams. I love this program. It saved my life. And I know that daughter that's not in my life now, I know she's coming. And I love all of you. I hope you enjoy the convention. Thanks for letting me share.